Hey everybody, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about vintage generic rounds. What are they, and should you stack them? So please stay tuned.
Stacking Cat.
Hello YouTube, and welcome to the Stacking Kat channel, where I talk all things silver with a little bit of gold. And thank you so much for watching. I greatly do appreciate it. And if you could please subscribe, smash that like button, and share this video, that would be awesome.
Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
And so the US dollar was first devalued in 1971, and then again in 1972, and this was followed by the move to fiat currency. And this happened in 1973. And this led to warnings of a rise in inflation as the US dollar was no longer held to a fixed rate of exchange. And allegedly it was because there wasn't enough gold to back up the US dollar. And so without a fixed exchange rate and a threat of inflation, many people began investing in silver as a hedge. And so no government-backed bullion was being minted, leading to an opening for private companies to mint and produce silver for the public in the form of rounds, which is just a generic name for a non-currency issued coin, and also traditional bars. Soon a proliferation of private mints sprung up, and suddenly silver was being bought and sold in small denominations. No longer was the metal being traded solely for industrial purposes, and as inflation of the US dollar came to fruition, the fears were realized, the need for silver soared. Alright, so as you can see, I have a lot of older vintage generic rounds out here. I also call them inflationary rounds. I just came up with that. I don't know if that's a name that people call them, but they were in as a reaction or a result of the rising tide of inflation and the move to the fiat dollar in the early 1970s. And so, to contrast with a lot of the modern rounds you see, whether they're the Buffaloes or the Morgans, Seated Liberties, Indian Heads, those type of rounds, which there are a lot of, they look great, to own. They're relatively cheap. They're very low premium, and will give it my full endorsement. If you're stacking purely for weight, generic silver rounds, the modern ones where you could get them as cheap as possible, I would say is the best way to go. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a YouTuber who is chronicling my own silver and gold stacking journey. It's up to you. You got to make your own decision on how you're going to stack. And so the older, more vintage generic rounds generally feature an emblem of the company logo, on the obverse with a specialty design on the reverse. Sometimes they're dated. But when it first started coming out in the early 1970s, when all this began to take place, a lot of the rounds that came out had different variations, or there were different variations of them. However, a lot of them generally mentioned the same thing, which was either a world trade unit, an international trade unit. A lot of this we saw a lot of scales on here, just denoting the weight in grams and grains, 1 troy ounce. See the international universal trade unit. And really what happened was when this first came out and people were buying them, as in private investments, they look like coins. So what would happen is there is no denomination on them. So the best way to designate what their worth might be was to just go ahead and say it's a world trade unit. You could turn this in. Silver's being traded on the open market. Whatever the price of silver is, an ounce of silver you will get back for your coin or your round, I'm sorry to say, because they're not coins. And this was an easy way for people to kind of differentiate what they were stacking. You're used to seeing a round like this with some type of currency denomination on it. a 1 ounce pure silver. So that became a thing that you saw on a lot of these earlier rounds. Adjust the lighting a little bit. And here's one of the earliest ones. I know a lot of people, I've seen these on a lot of channels, is Universaro. Kind of the 4 guys on there. A lot of people have seen this one. Yeah, so this was a really popular one that a lot of people own. And once again, the World Trade Unit. So that just made things easier for investors. Now, a lot of these rounds did start to change over time. You saw, really with the Engelhard was a really popular early round of the 1980s. The classic Prospector. And this is the old E-obverse, or this is the reverse, I guess it would be. And of course it changed in 1984, which I believe you could get both, to the Eagle. But this is a highly recognizable vintage round. I'm going to call them vintage rounds just because they are separated in a way from what you see with the modern stuff, whether it is the Buffaloes or what have you. So what happened was in the 1970s, a lot of people were stacking silver. It was a kind of a new way to preserve your wealth, hedge against inflation. It became really common where just regular citizens like you and me were out here doing just that, preserving our wealth and hedging against inflation. And a lot of private mints got in on the action. Dozens upon dozens of them. Remember, this is pre-American Silver Eagle, so government-backed bullion did not come into play until 1986 with the American Silver Eagle. Now, the U.S. Mint, through their assay office, did put out a round, which, as you can see right here, through their strategic stockpile. And of course, they went with that eagle with the American flag, which was a common theme or design on a lot of these older rounds. And of course, it says Silver Trade Unit again. And that's just because there's no, like I said, there's just no denomination of currency on there. And you didn't want to create any confusion. You wanted people to be able to know what they had, check the silver price. That is what is worth at that particular time. So if you went to trade it in or sell it, and also to let people know that you cannot use these things to spend. You cannot take one of these older ones here, like let's say this A-mark, or is this an A-mark? Yeah, this A-mark round. And you cannot spend it. You cannot just walk into the store and buy, a carton of milk or a loaf of bread, or you couldn't go to the gas station and fill your tank. It was just a way to differentiate from actual monetary currency. Now, I'm one of those. I'm a proponent that silver and gold and precious metals in this form are money. It's just a different type of money. You could trade that in, and next thing you know, you have that fiat currency, which, of course, that's a whole different story, but it would be nice if our money was still backed up by something intrinsic. So besides just the rounds, a lot of different variations of bars came out, and it wasn't just the big 100-ounce bars or the 1 kilo bars. You started seeing 1 ounce bars, and Engelhard, of course, is probably the biggest or the most well-known of the generic round manufacturers. And here's one serialized that you were able to pick up. And it's just 1 troy ounce, just lets you know exactly what it is. Just different designs and styles. Johnson Matthey's really common. I don't have any 1 ounce rounds. As a matter of fact, this is all the vintage generic rounds that I have. So a little over 20 ounces. Same type deal with the serial number. Their own little design there on the reverse. There we go. Yeah, so are they worth stacking becomes the question. You know, is this something that you look at and you say, oh, it's vintage, it might carry a high premium? Well, there's a lot of variance, and I'd say it's actually disguised as a lot of ambiguity here, which is ubiquitous across the entire spectrum. You got, if you go to coin shows, for example, is probably the best place to find a lot of this stuff. A lot of the coin show dealers were early stackers and accumulated a lot of these rounds, and now they're trying to cash in on them. Of course, they probably bought them when silver was like $4 to $6, $8 an ounce, and now it's well over 20, and it's averaged in the teens over the past decade or so, or post 2013, 2014. And it's time to cash in. So you will find a lot of these there, and it's all about finding deals. So as an example, like these Engelhard's rounds, which I was showing you guys earlier, I found a guy who was selling these at a coin show I was at, probably about 8 months ago. And he was doing these for, I think it was $1.50 or so over spot, maybe a little lower. He was selling them just for $20 flat rate, regardless of where spot was at, and spot was sitting at like 1850 to 1880, something like that. But you have to walk around. You know, I found that deal, and out of a coin show of 30 to 40 tables, probably, maybe even a little bit more than that, other guys were selling these same Engelhards for, you know, $10 over spot. So you really have to do your due diligence when you're trying to stack and buy something that isn't just readily available, and there really isn't a set price. Like American Silver Eagles, you know what you're going to pay over spot. Now, I know recently, the past few months, or since March, it's been a little haywire, but in the past, you knew what you're going to spend. Canadian Maple Leafs, same thing. And a lot of the other government bullion coins, and even a lot of the rounds, the Buffaloes or the Morgans, or even the series that you would find, you knew that you were going to spend a certain amount over spot. And with this, like I said, it's a lot of ambiguity, a lot of variance going on. You just don't know. Just look for that deal. A lot of different variables will come into play, like what the dealer wants to sell them for, of course. Is he willing to negotiate, or are they willing to negotiate? So it's a Monex International. I believe this is out of Canada. Of course, the Eagle again. And so I have a few of these in capsules. You don't necessarily have to have them in capsules. The ones that are ones that I purchased already in that arrangement. You know, you could touch them with your hands. As you can see, a lot of them I'm bringing up to the camera. You could see smudges and fingerprints and all that. There really is no numismatic value to them. I mean, maybe if you have like an 82 Engelhard and just mint state 65 or above, mint state 68, I don't know, whatever, you know, a bullion coin from 1982 would be, and it's the first year issue, maybe you'll find a market for it that way. I've never personally seen any of these slabbed. So the reason why I did this video was I wanted to just bring a little awareness, especially to new stackers out there who might come across this stuff and are a little unsure of what it is, to kind of let you know what the international or world trade unit means. It just means you could trade in that 1 ounce of bullion, silver bullion, for the price of silver at that day. And it also lets whoever was buying at the time know that that's what it is as well. Because remember, in the early 70s, when this was all coming about, really it was a new thing. Nobody knew what was going on, and there was probably a lot of questions, and this was just an easy way to do it. And also, as at my coin shop at Castro Valley Coin, and by the way, they want to say thank you. They're very appreciative of everybody who participated and watched the silver giveaway that they sponsored. And we're in the works. I've been talking to them, and maybe we could do another giveaway coming up shortly, pretty soon. Just look out for that. I'll let you guys know. You know, they're really, really excited about it. So that could be another opportunity to win some more silver. Or we'll see. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. So I was there and they had a tray of vintage rounds, and I picked up a few that, like this one I haven't seen before, this Liberty medallion. Pretty basic, and as you can see, it's all scuffed up and smudged, and it has character, and that's another reason why I think I like these things. With the modern bullion, I generally stack government issued stuff. For whatever reason, I just like the security of it. And, I have, like I said, I fully endorse stacking generic silver rounds, for weight. If that's how you want to go about it, it's your stack. I fully endorse that. That's just not the route that I choose to take. So this one, proclaim liberty throughout the land, 1974. I could not find anything on this one. I was trying to look through the internet, went to a few different sites, Numista, everything, could not find it. It has that little logo there on the right. If anybody knows what this is, put it down in the comments below. Pretty interesting. I found a few on eBay, but even then it just said 1 ounce silver round Liberty medallion from 1974. So not too much help there. Here's another one, Ohio Precious Metals. I know if you've been watching silver stacking videos, a lot of you have probably heard of or seen these rounds, or just anything silver from Ohio Precious Metals. Now, they did go out of business in 2016, I want to say. Yeah, 2016. So you could still find their stuff. Has a pretty unique reverse. OPM Metals, made in the USA. And like I said, yeah, a lot of companies took advantage of this new opportunity that was presenting them with buying or just manufacturing and investing in silver. A lot of these different companies, and there were a lot of them, came out and the market took off. A lot of people loved it, and it kind of hit that perfect storm. You had inflation in the 1970s, which turned into stagflation. The US dollar wasn't really doing anything, and people bought silver to store their wealth, and it's really propelled to where we are now. We're 40 plus years later. I mean, I was born in the 1970s, so I was around in, I guess, body and spirit only. I wasn't buying anything, obviously when I was like 1 year old, but it's propelled to this point, and now here I am stacking silver. So a lot can be owed or should be owed to that specific time, and a lot of it's a big chance, I'm sure, for a lot of these companies to do this, to manufacture and mint their own silver privately, knowing that there was no backing from the United States Treasury. Everything, if silver completely fell off the map, price-wise, then they'd lose it all. So a big risk, a big chance, and it's worked out for a lot of us, I'd have to say. So I picked up one other one. I can't find it. Oh, this is an interesting one. I just wanted to show you guys really quick. I know this video is running kind of long, but this is a Northwest Territory mint. And for those familiar with this mint, it has gone out of business, or I believe it's been purchased. I don't believe they're minting any silver anymore. And their CEO, I will not name him, was indicted on fraud for committing a Ponzi scheme. So I'm not going to get too much into it. If you guys want to read about that, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to cast any aspersions. I just know a lot of people were affected by it. And it looks like they have some kind of link with the Pan American Silver Corp, which I believe is out of Canada, a mining company out of Canada, which has mines down in Mexico and into Central and South America. So that's kind of cool. I like that logo with the pickaxe there. Pretty nice stuff. Even this design's pretty cool. You have a miner in there drilling away at the silver. And then it turns into this, of course. There we go. Try to get this one to focus a little bit better. All right, so one other thing really quick. Art bars, which are very popular at this time. Here's a 1973 centennial of the city of San Francisco. Geographically, it was something I was interested in, and the cable car is a pretty cool theme, and it's by the Patrick Mint, which has been around for a long time. 1 troy ounce, and this was another way, a lot of these art bars, it could be a representation geographically, like a centennial of a city. You might see like a Christmas bar, other different holidays. They have all these different variations. So be sure and check it out. And vintage generic silver rounds, or as I like to also call them, inflationary rounds, are they worth stacking? I would say yes. I mean, if you could find the right price and get them at a low premium, they're an interesting conversation piece. If you're at a coin show or a coin shop, it could get you a start in with whomever you're dealing with, and maybe create a little bit of a rapport, and then maybe you'll find some good deals. I don't know. But they're just fun to own. They're fun to stack. And we're all here to stack silver, and this is just another way that you could do that. All right, so that is going to wrap things up then for this video. And if you'd like to see similar videos about silver with a little bit of gold, then please subscribe and push that notification bell, smash that like button, and leave a comment. Let me know, do you guys like stacking these vintage rounds? Are you more into the modern rounds, government bullion, bars, gold, whatever it is? I'm really excited to read about that. And until next time, this is the Stacking Cat.